I walk into the kitchen around 6, the scent of Sarah's attempted meatloaf, a brave culinary experiment, doing little to mask the acrid smell of parental anxiety. Sarah's on the phone, her knuckles white where she's gripping her cell. Leo, my 10-year-old, is slumped at the kitchen island, his face pale, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. His blood glucose monitor lies next to his elbow, its screen flashing a number that makes my own heart skip a beat. 287 mmGDL, and climbing. "Yes, I understand you delivered it according to your system," Sarah's saying, her voice stretched thin as wire. "But it's not here. We don't have it. This is vital, life-sustaining medication." She clicks off the phone with a frustrated sigh and looks at me, her eyes wide with a fear I know too well. The specialty pharmacy insists Leo's insulin shipment was delivered 3 hours ago. Left on the porch. It's gone, Mike. Vanished. And his current Novolog pen is running on fumes. Maybe one emergency dose left. If that. My hospital crisis mode clicks in, overriding the exhaustion from a 12-hour day. "Okay," I say, my voice calmer than I feel. I place my briefcase on the counter, my gaze going straight to Leo. "Deep breath, Sarah. Leo, buddy, how are you feeling? Tell me." He swallows, his voice a little shaky. "Thirsty, Dad, and my stomach feels weird, and I really have to pee again." Classic hyperglycemia. "All right, Sarah, call Dr. Henderson's on call. Let them know his sugars are running high, and we have an issue with his insulin supply. I'll check the porch again. Look at the delivery company's tracking app." The app shows a cheerful little green check mark. Delivered 3:17 p.m., left at front door. I walk out onto the porch. Nothing. No distinctive insulated medical package. Just the usual collection of wind chimes, Brenda-approved, single tone, of course, and a new, smugly printed notice thumbtacked to our front door. It's on offensively bright pink paper. Serene Meadows Estates Homeowners, Association Official Directive 7.4, Subsection B, New Package Management and Security Protocols. It screams in a florid, overly official font. To ensure community aesthetics and prevent package theft, all unattended deliveries will henceforth be collected by HOA security personnel and stored at the designated Secure Package Reception Facility. Packages may be retrieved by residents upon presentation of ID and payment of a $5 administrative and handling fee. Secure facility hours, 4 p.m., 6 p.m., Monday to Friday. Signed, Brenda Hatcher, President. My blood doesn't just run cold, it solidifies. HOA security personnel. That's Brenda. Secure Package Reception Facility. That's her sun-blasted, unair-conditioned garage 2 doors down. And Leo's life-saving, temperature-critical insulin has been in her unauthorized, unregulated clutches for 3 hours. I don't knock on Brenda Hatcher's door. I stride up her perfectly manicured walkway, past her prize-winning and aggressively beige rose bushes, and find her in the driveway, meticulously wiping down her already gleaming golf cart with a microfiber cloth. She looks up, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips, the kind that says, "I am the order in your chaotic lives." "Brenda," I say, my voice low, each word precisely enunciated. "Good afternoon. I believe you have a package for my son, Leo Evans. It's a medical delivery. It is extremely urgent and requires constant refrigeration." She puts down her cloth with an exaggerated sigh, as if I'm a particularly tedious interruption. "Dr. Evans, yes." Her voice is syrupy with condescension. "As per the new Serene Meadows Directive 7.4, subsection B, which was clearly communicated in last week's community newsletter. I do hope you read your HOA communications. All unattended packages are to be logged and secured here at the central facility. It's for everyone's benefit, you know. prevents unsightly porch clutter, and, of course, deters those dreadful porch pirates. She gestures vaguely with a manicured hand towards the yawning darkness of her garage, where a haphazard pile of assorted boxes and padded envelopes is visible. It'll be a $5 retrieval and security fee, of course, for administrative and secure storage costs. Cash or check payable to Serene Meadows HOA. My eyes scan the pile, and there it is. The distinctive white, insulated medical shipping box with the bright red, "Refrigerate immediately, protect from heat" labels plastered all over it. It's sitting precariously on top of a half-empty bag of lawn fertilizer, directly in a shaft of late afternoon sun pouring through a grimy garage window. The integrated temperature strip on the side of the box, designed to show breaches in the cold chain, is a solid, alarming black. Not the reassuring green it should be. The external coolant packs are visibly deflated, condensation puddled around them. I can feel a vein throbbing in my temple, but my voice remains icily calm. Brenda, that package contains insulin aspart. It is a biologic. It is rendered ineffective and potentially dangerous if not maintained between 36 and 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Has this package been kept under continuous refrigeration since you took possession of it? She waves a dismissive, bare-ringed hand. Oh, I'm sure it's perfectly fine, doctor. It's very robustly packaged, I noticed. Those pharmaceutical companies do tend to overdo it. Now, about that $5 fee. I walk past her into the garage, the heat hitting me like a physical blow. I pick up the box. It's warm. Not cool, not even room temperature. Warm, ruined, useless, possibly harmful if administered. My mind, trained for years to assess pharmaceutical integrity, is screaming. Brenda, I say, turning back to her, the box in my hand. My voice is flat, devoid of inflection, which, as Sarah could tell you, is when I'm most dangerous. This medication, and the expensive calibrated cooling materials it was shipped with, are almost certainly compromised beyond usability due to improper storage at elevated temperatures. This is my son's lifeline. You do understand the implications of that, don't you? Her smile falters for a fraction of a second, replaced by a flicker of, is it annoyance, or just monumental ignorance? Now, Dr. Evans, don't be so dramatic. It was perfectly safe in my secure facility. I personally logged it in. If it's compromised, as you so melodramatically put it, perhaps your pharmacy should invest in better, more resilient packaging. Or you should endeavor to be home when your critical deliveries arrive. That will still be $5. Arguing with this woman now is like trying to explain quantum physics to a garden gnome. My son needs insulin, now. I pull a $5 bill from my wallet, place it on her pristine golf cart seat, and take the ruined package. My mind is already a whirlwind of USP chapters, FDA regulations, state pharmacy laws, and the controlled, righteous fury of a father whose child has just been endangered by willful, officious stupidity. The immediate priority is Leo. The secondary, but no less critical priority, is ensuring Brenda Hatcher understands the catastrophic magnitude of her actions. She has just declared war on a man whose entire professional life revolves around the safe and legal handling of medications. She has no idea what's coming. The drive to the 24-hour pharmacy across town is a blur of red lights and rising panic. Leo's last insulin pen is indeed empty. The pharmacy confirms the bad news. Their wholesaler had a recall on a batch of Novolog, and their emergency stock is depleted until the morning shipment. Standard procedure would be to contact Leo's endocrinologist for an alternative, but Leo is very specifically titrated on Novolog. Switching formulations on the fly without direct supervision isn't ideal. My professional judgment, and a father's desperate need for a solution, kicks in. Sarah, I say, pulling over. Call Dr. Henderson. Update him. Tell him I'm activating an emergency override at City General to get a vial. I'll meet you there. We might need to admit Leo for observation if we can't get his sugars down quickly. The protocols for a hospital pharmacist to dispense medication for personal use, even for a family member, are stringent, wrapped in layers of ethical considerations and paperwork. But for a life-threatening emergency for a child, exceptions can be made, documented, and justified. Jenkins, the night pharmacist on call at City General, is a good man, a thorough professional. Mike? Dr. Evans? His voice is thick with sleep when I call him from the hospital parking lot. What's wrong? Jenkins, it's Mike. Sorry for the ungodly hour. I have a critical personal emergency. My son, Leo, type 1, his insulin delivery for the month was compromised by external interference, adulterated. His sugars are spiking into the 300s. I need to access an emergency vial of Novolog from our pharmacy stock. I'll handle all the documentation, physician verification, the works. Say no more, Dr. Evans, Jenkins says, instantly awake and alert. Come right down to the central pharmacy. We'll get your boy what he needs. We'll sort out the red tape. Leo is scared, but incredibly brave, enduring another finger prick in the hospital's ER with a stoicism that breaks my heart. Sarah is a rock, holding his hand, her face a mask of controlled terror. Finally, with a fresh vial of Novolog from City General's carefully temperature-controlled stores, and under Dr. Henderson's telephoned guidance, we administer a corrective dose. We wait, the minutes stretching into an eternity until Leo's blood glucose monitor finally, mercifully starts to trend downwards. We won't need to admit him tonight, but it was too close. Far, far too close. All because of Brenda Hatcher and her idiotic, dangerous power trip. Back home, long after Sarah and a now stabilized Leo are asleep, I sit in my study, the ruined insulin package on my desk like a piece of damning evidence. The smug, pink HOA notice is beside it. My anger is a cold, hard knot in my chest. This isn't just about incompetence anymore. This is about endangerment. Brenda Hatcher, or Barricade Brenda, as some of the less enamored residents had started calling her, had been elected HOA president of Serene Meadows Estates 6 months prior on a platform of restoring order and upholding community standards. Her reign began almost immediately. First, it was the infamous trash can edict. Bins could not be visible from the street except between the hours of 6 p.m. Tuesday and 8 a.m. Wednesday. Violators received a starkly worded notice and a $25 fine, pictures of their offending cans attached. Then came the approved floral and shrubbery list, followed by the seasonal decorative item moratorium. No inflatable Santas, no unapproved Spectrum Halloween lights. My personal favorite was her attempt to regulate the breed and weight of dogs, which nearly caused a civil war within the HOA until the National Kennel Club threatened to sue them for defamation against corgis. Each new directive was delivered via a passive-aggressive, condescendingly worded newsletter filled with phrases like, "It has come to our attention," and "for the continued beautification and harmonious living of all residents." It was less about community and more about control her control. Directive 7.4, the Package Management and Security Protocol, was her magnum opus. It was born, she claimed, out of a deep concern for the statistically insignificant number of porch piracy incidents in our exceedingly dull and crime-free suburb. More likely, it was born out of her desire to be the gatekeeper of everyone's Amazon Prime deliveries and to levy yet another fee. The newsletter detailed how trained HOA security personnel, Brenda and occasionally her bewildered-looking husband Earl, when he wasn't trying to escape to the golf course, would collect any packages left unattended for more than 30 minutes. Residents would then be notified, usually by a note stuck to their door hours later, and could retrieve their items from the secure package reception facility, her garage, a cramped, uninsulated space that baked to over 100 degrees on summer afternoons, for the aforementioned $5 administrative and handling fee. We'd had a minor run-in with her a month earlier over a delivery of Sarah's artisanal sourdough starter, which apparently looked suspicious to Brenda and was held hostage for 2 days, by which point it had achieved sentience and was plotting its escape. Sarah had been furious, but it was just starter. This was insulin. This was different. This was a declaration of war. I open my laptop. My fingers fly across the keyboard. United States Pharmacopoeia. General. Chapter, Good Storage and Distribution, Practices for Drug Products. FDA Code of Federal Regulations. Title 21, Part 211. Current Good Manufacturing Practice for Finished Pharmaceuticals, particularly the sections on holding and distribution and prevention of adulteration. State Pharmacy Law, Chapter Relevant Chapter Number. Unlicensed Practice of Pharmacy, Unlawful Possession and Distribution of Prescription Drugs, U.S. Postal Code, Title 18, Section 17. 08. Theft or receipt of stolen mail matter generally. Even if the courier wasn't USPS, interference with a lawfully delivered package containing prescription medication had its own set of ugly legal implications. She called it unsightly porch clutter, I muttered to the empty room, the words tasting like ash. This isn't a pair of forgotten gardening gloves, Brenda. This is a Schedule 6 prescription biologic pharmaceutical with a non-negotiable, unbroken cold chain requirement from manufacturer to patient. Secure facility? Her un-air-conditioned 95-degree garage, reeking of old paint cans and next to a half-empty bag of Scott's Turf Builder, does not, by any stretch of the legal or scientific imagination, qualify as a secure pharmaceutical storage facility. She has no license, no training, no environmental controls, no temperature monitoring logs, no clue. She has, in fact, created a public health hazard and committed multiple actionable violations. The plan begins to form, clear and precise in my mind, like titrating a complex compound. This isn't going to be a shouting match over the azaleas. This is going to be a meticulously documented multi-agency regulatory takedown. Brenda Hatcher, president of the Serene Meadows HOA, has just become the subject of a very serious, very professional case study in abject failure of duty of care. And I, Dr. Michael Evans, Pharm.D, Director of Pharmacy Services, am going to write the concluding chapter. The next morning dawns clear and bright, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in my meticulously organized mind. Leo is thankfully stable, his blood sugar back in a safe range, though the scare has left him subdued. Sarah is still shaken, alternating between simmering anger at Brenda and relief that Leo is okay. I, however, am operating with the cold, focused precision of a pharmacist compounding a critical intravenous admixture. There is no room for error. My first calls, even before my morning coffee, are to the official bodies that govern the safe handling and distribution of pharmaceuticals. I speak their language. I know their protocols. I know what information they need and in what format. Good morning, Agent Davis. I begin with the FDA's Office of Criminal Investigations hotline. This is Dr. Michael Evans, Pharm.D, Director of Pharmacy Services at City General Hospital, FDA registration number, my hospital's number. I am lodging a formal complaint, reference number. I've already generated my own internal case number regarding a critical incident of pharmaceutical product adulteration due to gross negligence by an unauthorized third party. The product in question is Insulin Aspart, NDC, National Drug Code, lot number from the ruined packaging, prescribed by Dr. Eleanor Henderson, dispensed by specialty pharmacy name and license number. The responsible party for the adulteration is Miss Brenda Hatcher, president of the Serene Meadows Homeowners Association. Address: who, under color of a purported HOA directive, took possession of said temperature-sensitive biologic and stored it in an uncontrolled, non-refrigerated environment for approximately 3 hours, rendering it non-viable. I have photographic evidence of the compromised temperature indicator strip, the storage conditions, and the HOA directive authorizing this unorthodox procedure. This action directly violated USP General Chapter guidelines for appropriate storage and distribution, and potentially Title 21 CFR Part 211.142 regarding warehousing procedures. Yes, I can forward all supporting documentation immediately. 1 down. Next, the State Board of Pharmacy. Good morning, Mr. Carmichael. Dr. Michael Evans, City General. I need to report an incident involving the unlicensed handling, storage, and effective redispensing, given the imposition of a retrieval fee, of a Schedule 6 prescription drug by a layperson, Miss Brenda Hatcher, resulting in product spoilage and patient endangerment. This would appear to be a violation of State Pharmacy Act, specific statute number, concerning the unauthorized practice of pharmacy and maintaining a premises for the unauthorized storage or distribution of prescription drugs. Then, a call to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. Even though it was a private courier, their umbrella of interference with delivery of mail matter can be surprisingly broad, especially when critical medical supplies are involved and a quasi-official entity like an HOA is systematically intercepting packages. I detail the compulsory retrieval fee as a potential form of extortion related to delivered goods. Finally, I dial the non-emergency line for our local police department. Detective Armstrong, please. This is Dr. Michael Evans. I need to file a formal complaint regarding reckless endangerment of a minor, my son Leo Evans, and the potential unlawful conversion of property, specifically prescription medication, by Miss Brenda Hatcher of Address. She confiscated a life-sustaining medical delivery and, through negligent storage, rendered it unusable, directly impacting my son's health and safety. There was also a $5 fee demanded under duress for the return of the damaged property. Each call is calm, factual, filled with precise terminology, dates, times, and references to specific regulations. I am not just an angry father. I am a healthcare professional reporting critical breaches of public safety and pharmaceutical law. The people on the other end of these calls are not accustomed to receiving complaints with this level of detail and professional standing from a civilian. They listen. They take notes. They promise investigations. Later that morning, as I'm preparing to head into the hospital, after arranging for a colleague to cover my initial meetings, 2 police cruisers pull up to Brenda Hatcher's house. Not the sleepy patrol car from a minor bylaw dispute. These are more serious-looking officers, and one introduces himself as Detective Rodriguez. I watch from my window as Brenda, dressed in a crisp linen pantsuit, emerges onto her porch, an expression of affronted dignity firmly in place. I can't hear the conversation, but the body language is telling. Rodriguez is calm, asking questions, occasionally gesturing towards her garage. Brenda starts with indignant gesticulations. Then her posture seems to deflate slightly. The officers are there for nearly an hour. They take photographs of her garage, her secure package reception facility. They leave her with a case card and a distinctly less smug expression on her face. The courier company that delivered the insulin, a national firm specializing in medical shipments, is next on my list. I had already lodged a complaint with their corporate compliance hotline. By midday, their local distribution manager, a harried-looking man named Henderson, no relation to Leo's doctor, thankfully, is on my doorstep, profusely apologetic. Dr. Evans, I am so incredibly sorry about what happened with your son's delivery, he says, genuinely distressed. Interference by a third party after a confirmed secure delivery is unacceptable. Our driver, Mr. Peterson, has given a full statement. He confirms he delivered the package to your porch, clearly marked as requiring refrigeration, and then witnessed Miss Hatcher remove it, stating it was per HOA rules, and she was taking it to her secure locker area. He noted at the time he was concerned as her locker area appeared to be her residential garage, and it was a very hot day. Mr. Peterson's observations are consistent with the facts, Mr. Henderson, I reply. We are launching a full internal investigation, Henderson continues, and we will be issuing a formal cease and desist letter to the Serene Meadows HOA regarding any future interference with our deliveries. Our contract is with the sender and the recipient, not the HOA. If this continues, we may have to suspend deliveries to addresses where such interference is documented for the safety and integrity of the shipments, especially critical medical ones. That, I think with grim satisfaction, will get the attention of the other residents. The next HOA board meeting is scheduled for the following Tuesday. Brenda, still smarting from the police visit and no doubt the initial contact from the courier company, is clearly not expecting what's about to hit her. I arrive a few minutes early, armed with a laptop, a projector, and several neatly bound dossiers of information copies of the relevant laws, FDA guidelines, USP chapters, and my formal complaints for each board member. The other board members, a timid accountant named Arthur Figgis, a retired schoolteacher named Eleanor Carmichael, and a perpetually confused-looking man named Bob, who mostly just wanted to talk about the community fishing pond, look nervous. Many residents are also present, drawn by the rumors of the police visit and the ominous notices from the courier company about potential delivery suspensions. Brenda bangs her gavel. This emergency meeting of the Serene Meadows HOA is now in session. The first item on the agenda is a regrettable but necessary discussion regarding certain misunderstandings concerning Directive 7.4. Before you begin, Madam President, I interject, standing up, my voice carrying clearly in the suddenly quiet community clubhouse. I believe I have some information directly pertinent to these misunderstandings that the board and all residents need to be made aware of. It concerns multiple violations of federal and state law, reckless endangerment, and the significant legal and financial liabilities this HOA now faces due to the ill-conceived and negligently implemented Directive 7.4. I then proceed, calmly and methodically, for the next 30 minutes, to lay out the entire unvarnished truth, projecting copies of the regulations, the spoiled insulin photos, and Brenda's directive onto the wall. I outline the ongoing investigations by the FDA, the State Board of Pharmacy, the postal inspectors, and the police department. I explain the concept of directors' and officers' liability insurance and how gross negligence can invalidate it, leaving board members personally liable. I explain the fines associated with each violation, some of which are per day, per incident. The color drains from Arthur Figgis's face. Eleanor Carmichael looks horrified. Bob just looks more confused, but also scared. The residents are murmuring, a low, angry buzz filling the room. So, to summarize, I conclude, my gaze sweeping across the stunned faces. Directive 7.4, as implemented by Miss Hatcher, has not only endangered the life of my child, but has directly led to the violation of at least 3 federal statutes, 2 state pharmacy board regulations, and has exposed every single member of this homeowners association to catastrophic civil and potentially even criminal liability. This isn't about unsightly porch clutter, ladies and gentlemen. This is about a fundamental dereliction of duty, a shocking abuse of perceived authority, and an utter disregard for public safety and the law. I then formally propose an immediate and permanent rescission of Directive 7.4, the immediate suspension of Brenda Hatcher as president, pending the outcome of the multiple official investigations and a full independent review of all HOA policies and procedures by an external legal expert specializing in HOA law and regulatory compliance. Brenda tries to argue, to bluster, to defend her impeccable record of service to the community. But her voice is drowned out by a chorus of angry, frightened residents and the grim, determined faces of her fellow board members who are finally realizing the abyss Brenda has led them to. The titration of justice was well underway. The days following that explosive HOA meeting are, for Brenda Hatcher, a masterclass in the law of unintended consequences. The official letters begin to arrive at her perfectly kept doorstep with alarming regularity, each one on heavy government letterhead, each one carrying the distinct perfume of serious trouble. There's a sternly worded missive from the Food and Drug Administration, Office of Criminal Investigations, informing her that a formal inquiry, case file #FDA OCI 2025, X, has been opened into allegations of adulteration of a prescription pharmaceutical product due to improper handling and storage by an unauthorized third party. It requests her formal written response within 15 business days and outlines potential civil penalties that make her eyes water. Close on its heels comes a certified letter from the State Board of Pharmacy. This one informs Miss Hatcher that she is under investigation for potential violations of the State Pharmacy Practice Act, relevant chapter, including but not limited to unlicensed operation of a drug storage facility, unlawful distribution of a prescription drug, to wit, levying a fee for its retrieval, and actions contributing to patient endangerment. It, too, demands a detailed response and warns of hearings, fines, and possible referral for criminal prosecution. Then there's the communication from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, or the courier company's legal department, now fully activated, outlining their concerns about systematic interference with the lawful delivery of packages, including restricted medical supplies, and informing her that her HOA's Directive 7.4 inches is under review for potential violations of federal commerce and delivery integrity laws. They also formally notify the HOA that, until further notice, all deliveries requiring a signature or containing identifiable medical supplies will be held at their central depot for resident pickup, effectively bypassing Brenda's secure facility and causing immense inconvenience to everyone but me, as I'd already made alternative arrangements for Leo's future shipments. Brenda, the self-proclaimed queen of issuing violation notices for mismatched petunias and overly exuberant welcome mats, is now drowning in a sea of official, legally binding demands from entities that wield far more power than a suburban HOA president. I imagine her at her kitchen table, surrounded by these ominous documents, her usual composure cracking, trying to decipher terms like chain of custody, strict liability, cease and desist, and potential felony charges. She probably calls that comically inept lawyer she found in the phone book, a fellow named Lionel G. Hutz, no relation to the cartoon character, but equally hapless, who likely advises her to assert her rights and deny everything, which only makes things worse. The real tipping point, however, comes from the HOA's own insurance carrier. Alerted by a concerned Arthur Figgis, the timid accountant on the board who is now having nightmares about personal bankruptcy, and possibly by a discreet, anonymous package of information from a concerned resident, me, the underwriters for Serene Meadows Estates, directors and officers, liability policy send their own registered letter. It's a masterpiece of polite, corporate dread. It expresses grave concern over the multiple serious allegations and official investigations currently pending against the HOA and its president, Miss Brenda Hatcher. It highlights the policy exclusions for acts of gross negligence, willful misconduct, and activities undertaken with reckless disregard for applicable laws and regulations. It strongly implies that if any of these investigations result in findings of culpability, particularly regarding endangerment or violations of pharmaceutical law, the D&O policy may be voided for this claim, and future coverage for the HOA could be prohibitively expensive, if available at all. This letter sends shockwaves through the normally placid waters of the HOA board. The prospect of being personally sued by residents, by me, by delivery companies, without the shield of insurance, terrifies them. Arthur Figgis, armed with a calculator and a dawning sense of self-preservation, figures out that the potential fines and legal fees could bankrupt the HOA and leave them all personally exposed. Another emergency HOA board meeting is called. This time, Brenda isn't banging the gavel. She's white-faced and silent, clutching a sheaf of threatening letters. The residents are out for blood, or at least for her resignation. Mr. Henderson, a retired engineer who usually just wanted to talk about improving the sprinkler system for the common areas, stands up, his voice shaking but firm. "Brenda," he says, not unkindly, but with the weight of the entire community behind him. "With all due respect, and I mean that, you've been a dedicated president in many ways. But this situation with Dr. Evans's son, these investigations, you've single-handedly invited about 6 different state and federal government agencies to scrutinize our every move. You've jeopardized our insurance, our finances, and frankly, the reputation of Serene Meadows. We, the board, have had an emergency session, and we've taken a vote. We are formally requesting your immediate resignation as president and as a member of this board, pending the outcome of these investigations. If you refuse, we will move for your immediate removal as per the bylaws, Article 9, Section 3. Gary Grumbles, Brenda's erstwhile VP and loyal lapdog, sees the writing on the wall. He tearfully announces his own immediate resignation from all HOA duties, effective immediately, citing unexpected personal reasons and a sudden desire to spend more time tending his petunias, which, ironically, were not on Brenda's approved list. Brenda looks around the room, seeking an ally, a friendly face. She finds none. Defeated, humiliated, she gathers her papers and, without a word, walks out of the clubhouse, the door swinging shut behind her with a quiet click that echoes louder than any gavel. The final, almost comically mundane nail in the coffin of Brenda's secure package reception facility comes a few days later. As part of my multi-pronged approach, I had, as a concerned citizen, lodged an anonymous tip with the local town code enforcement office about a possible unlicensed commercial package storage and retrieval business being operated out of a residential garage in Serene Meadows. A bored, chronically overworked code enforcement officer named Dwayne, whose enthusiasm for his job had clearly peaked sometime during the Carter administration, reluctantly pays a visit to Brenda's now infamous garage. He's not particularly impressed by the commercial business angle. It's a bit of a stretch even for him. But Dwayne, despite his air of weary indifference, is a connoisseur of the obscure and petty violation. His eyes, dulled by years of investigating complaints about unpermitted bird baths and rogue political lawn signs, light up with a faint, almost imperceptible flicker of professional interest as he peers into the gloomy depths of Brenda's garage. It's not the pile of confiscated Amazon boxes that catches his attention. It's the new, rather shoddily installed shelving units Brenda had put up to organize her inventory, and the new electrical outlet she'd had a local handyman, an unlicensed, cash-only contractor named Shifty Sal, install so she could plug in her label maker and a small desk fan. Dwayne ambles in, clipboard in hand. "Afternoon, ma'am," he drawls, his voice a monotone. "Code enforcement. Got an anonymous tip about this package facility you got here." He pokes at one of the shelves with his pen. It wobbles precariously. "These shelves, ma'am, they rated for the live load you got on them? Any manufacturer's specs? Building permit for the installation?" He then turns his attention to the new outlet. "And this electrical work. Who was the licensed contractor pulled the permit for this?" He points to the Romex wiring, improperly stapled and too close to a stored container of what looks suspiciously like gasoline for her lawnmower. "This outlet ain't GFCI protected, and it's within 6 feet of a potential water source, that garden hose spigot right there. And this wiring, it's a fire hazard waiting to happen, ma'am." Brenda, already reeling from her HOA ouster, can only stare in disbelief as Dwayne, with a sigh that suggests this is just another tedious entry in the endless litany of suburban noncompliance, starts writing out a bright orange notice of violation and stop work order. "Gonna have to red tag this garage, ma'am," he says, almost apologetically. "Can't have any activity in here, especially not a quote-unquote business, until these electrical and structural violations are corrected by licensed contractors, fully permitted and inspected by my office. Have a nice day." Brenda Hatcher's fortress, her command center, her secure package reception facility, is officially condemned. Not by the FDA, not by the State Board of Pharmacy, but by a wobbly shelf and a dodgy electrical outlet. The irony is almost delicious. The regulatory avalanche had reached its peak, and Barricade Brenda was well and truly buried. The fallout for Brenda Hatcher is, as they say in the medical field, significant and multifaceted. The State Board of Pharmacy, after a rather one-sided hearing, Brenda's lawyer, Lionel Hutz, apparently tried to cite maritime law as a defense, fines her a hefty 5-figure sum for unlicensed pharmaceutical handling and endangerment. They also mandate she attend and pass a series of accredited courses on medication, safety, handling, and public responsibility, which I imagine she enjoys about as much as a root canal without anesthesia. The FDA's investigation concludes with a stern letter of warning entered into her permanent record, noting that further transgressions would result in more severe penalties. The U.S. Postal Inspectors and the Courier Company both issue formal notifications to the now Brenda-less HOA board, outlining strict protocols for future deliveries and making it clear that any further interference will result in immediate suspension of all services to the entire Serene Meadows estates. The local police, after Detective Rodriguez has a long chat with Brenda about the potential for felony charges if anything like this ever happens again, decide not to press criminal charges, largely because Leo, thanks to my quick intervention and access to hospital resources, did not suffer lasting physical harm. The public humiliation, the loss of her HOA presidency, and the significant financial penalties are deemed sufficient punishment for her specific brand of suburban tyranny. Brenda becomes a ghost in Serene Meadows. Her prize-winning roses, once meticulously tended, start to look a bit forlorn. She's rarely seen outside. When she is, residents tend to suddenly find something fascinating to look at on the other side of the street. The whispers follow her like her own shadow. Her reign of beige terror is well and truly over. In the wake of Brenda's spectacular implosion, I find myself reluctantly drafted onto a temporary HOA oversight committee. Working with Arthur Figgis, who is now surprisingly assertive, Eleanor Carmichael, and the external legal expert they wisely hired, we begin the painstaking process of undoing Brenda's more ludicrous directives and rewriting the HOA bylaws to be based on common sense, legal compliance, and genuine community well-being, rather than one person's obsessive need for control. Directive 7.4 is, of course, struck from the records with extreme prejudice. We explore several options for package management. Some residents want a secure Amazon-style locker system installed near the clubhouse, managed by a bonded third-party vendor. Others argue for a complete hands-off approach by the HOA, letting residents install their own secure delivery boxes or make their own arrangements with couriers. We put it to a community vote. The hands-off approach wins by a landslide. Freedom, it seems, is popular. I also spearhead a community awareness initiative. With the help of my hospital's outreach department, we organize an evening session at the clubhouse on neighborhood safety for vulnerable residents, covering topics like the importance of respecting medical deliveries, recognizing signs of medical distress in neighbors, and basic emergency preparedness. It's surprisingly well attended. People are shaken by what happened to Leo and eager to ensure Serene Meadows is a genuinely safe place, not just a place with rigidly enforced lawn aesthetics. Leo, resilient as ever, gets his insulin delivered without incident now. We have a new, brightly colored, clearly marked, medical supplies refrigerate immediately lockbox on our porch, a gift from a grateful Mr. Henderson. Leo even helps me check the temperature log on it sometimes, a little pharmacist in training. A few months later, a for sale sign appears on Brenda Hatcher's perfectly manicured lawn. The house sells quickly. Rumor has it she's moved to a remote cabin in the mountains with no HOA, no neighbors, and presumably no packages to mismanage. We wish her a lot of solitude. Life in Serene Meadows Estates settles into a new, more relaxed rhythm. The HOA meetings are shorter, less contentious. People are actually talking to each other again, not just exchanging furtive glances of shared oppression. My roses, unlike Brenda's, are thriving in the front yard. A vibrant, multi-hued protest against enforced beige conformity. You know, my entire professional life is dedicated to preventing harm through the meticulous application of systems, protocols, and an unwavering adherence to the highest standards of care. I never imagined I'd have to deploy that same skill set in my own front yard to counter a threat born not of malice, perhaps, but of a staggering, dangerous combination of ignorance and arrogance. But when someone confuses the petty power of an HOA presidency with the actual authority to endanger public safety, when they mistake their poorly drafted community bylaws for the established laws of medicine and society, well, sometimes you have to write them a very strong, very detailed, multi-copy prescription for a significant reality check. In Brenda Hatcher's case, the prescribed course of treatment was complex, involved multiple specialist consultations, and had some rather severe, albeit entirely predictable, side effects. But I'm pleased to report the overall prognosis for the health and safety of our community is now excellent. The best part? Leo is thriving. His insulin arrives safe and sound, kept at the perfect temperature. And every time I see that medical delivery truck pull up, I feel a quiet sense of victory. Not just for my son, but for common sense, for accountability, and for the undeniable truth that no amount of HOA bluster can ever outweigh the fundamental right to health and safety. And that, as any good pharmacist will tell you, is a formulation worth fighting for.